And then who's Amerigo Vespucci, and why don't you owe him jack shit? Because you don't owe Amerigo Vespucci anything. Amerigo Vespucci is this Florentine explorer slash pilot slash, back then pilot meant something different. Navigator would be the better term. Back in the late 1400s, I think he died in 1512. So he makes, right around the time of Columbus, 1492, Amerigo Vespucci dies in 1512. He makes a couple voyages to America. And he's the first one who wrote down that he thought America was a continent, was a new continent, was a whole new world. He was the first one to put that to paper, allegedly. There's some questions about that. All right, so Amerigo Vespucci says, oh, this is a continent, which I think everyone knew at that point. But then two German humanists, and many of the world's greatest evils have begun with German humanists, take Amerigo Vespucci's name and they put it on a map. They make this map and they say, oh, we're going to name this place America because Amerigo Vespucci realized it was a continent first. These guys' names were Matthias Ringman and Martin Waldseemüller. I can't pronounce. I could spell it for you, but I can't pronounce it. German humanists. These are the people who gave us socialism, and therefore, communism and Nazism and all this fascism. Maybe not directly fascism, but definitely National Socialism, Nazism. I would still say probably even fascism, though. I'm not a philosophy major. So these German humanists give this new continent the name America. Okay, so why don't we? It seems like maybe we do owe Amerigo Vespucci something, but we don't. We don't owe him jack shit. What we have to be loyal. What we owe fealty to our ideals and principles, and a culture that was built up around those ideals and principles. So freedom, individual liberty, religious liberty. Although remember, our forefathers only thought there was one true religion, so they only thought that practitioners of that religion had religious freedom. Everyone else was just deceived. These are the things that we have to be loyal to. And if someone comes, and I shouldn't say that if someone comes, because someone has come. People have come, German humanists have come back to reclaim their name. The name they gave us, they came and they've reclaimed, and they've taken it and they have given it to other things, to socialism, liberalism, paternalism. I'm all about some patriarchy, but paternalism is evil. Paternalism is when basically your ruler is like a father to you and he takes care of you and you obey him. And there's this paternalistic relationship between the citizen and the ruler. And they have taken that name America and they have put it, and they have taken it away from this our principles of individual liberty and freedom of conscience, and they have now put it on a tyrannical system, or a tyrannical paternalistic system. We don't have to be loyal or obedient or even cooperative with this paternalistic tyranny. Excuse me. Just because they label it with Amerigo Vespucci's name and they call this America, that doesn't mean, as people who in the past have been loyal to America, that we have to be loyal to paternalistic tyranny. We don't. We can't. That's not patriotism. I'm to the point where patriotism almost doesn't mean anything anymore. I know people like me call themselves patriots because we think we're being loyal to, not because we are loyal to an American past and those cultures and those ideas. But they've used that, to keep turning the dial on us a little bit at a time. Oh, this is America. Click. No, this is America. Click. No, this is America. Click. No, this is America. And America was over here, and now America's over here. But right, what's right, what's righteous was still over here, even though America's over here now. We don't follow the name. We don't track the missile. There was this. I was a tow gunner in the Marine Corps, and there was this. The tow missile is an anti-tank missile, and we used to shoot it off of Humvees, and you would have to guide it in. And so you were looking through this sight, and you had this crosshair, and you kept the crosshair on the target, and the missile went to the crosshair. Well, there's this phenomenon where the missile shows up in your sight as this bright, glowing red dot, and it attracts your eye. So what happens is you start watching the missile, and now instead of watching the target and keeping on target, and you guide the missile, and now you're sort of watching the missile, and you're drifting, and it's called tracking the missile. And now you're completely off target. Well, that's happened to us here in America. We've tracked the missile, and we've got to get back on target. Our grandsons and our sons will revile us if we don't figure this out, if we don't get this right. We can't salute the flag. We have to salute ideas, and we have to salute principles, and we have to salute rightness in sort of in right thinking and right ideas. And we can't have crazy German humanists come to us and say, "Oh, we have the name America." I know that probably wasn't a German. That wasn't a German accent. That was bad. Please ignore that. And now we have to follow German humanists. I was going to do it again, and I stopped myself in the last second. No, we don't follow German humanists. We are what used to be referred to as Americans. Whatever we have to call ourselves as now, if we have to give up that name, we have to not be loyal to Amerigo Vespucci. We are loyal to the Declaration of Independence, a little bit to the Constitution. The Constitution's been so twisted that it's almost meaningless now. But we are loyal to those ideas and those cultures that started when the Pilgrims came. Actually, they started with a guy named John Ponnet. I'm going to do a video on John Ponnet. John Ponnet was the first American, and he started. He was the first one to articulate the ideas that became American. But they started with John Ponnet. They went through Oliver Cromwell, one of the greatest men in history. Love Oliver Cromwell, all the way up to our founding fathers, and now through to us. Principles that there is no one between you and God. No one. There's no one between you and God. I mean, someone has to set the speed limits, but no one can tell you what's right and wrong, and no one ultimately can tell you what you have to do. And that's what we have to get back to being loyal to. We can't be loyal to a flag. We can't be loyal to a name that has nothing to do with who we are. There is very few things in this world farther from who we see ourselves are as American men than as a late 14th century Italian noble and government official. He ended up in Spain. He started out in Florence. He was like, his family was the allies of the Medici family. Medici? I think it's Medici. The Medici family. He goes to Spain. He works for the King of Spain. Or no, I'm sorry. He goes to Portugal. He works for the King of Portugal. Then he goes to Spain, and he dies there in Spain working for the whoever. Maybe that was Ferdinand. I'd have to look it up. Don't quote me on that. I know Ferdinand and Isabella were there in 1492. It's possible they were still there in 1512 when he dies. I don't know. That man has as little to do with what you and I believe and what we value as just about anyone else in the world, except possibly German humanists. You can't be in the West and be any farther from what America represents than German humanism. And I say it's not a humanism period. Humanism period's just evil. But there you go. We don't owe Amerigo Vespucci shit, jack shit. We don't owe him anything. He can go do terrible things to himself. Our loyalty is not to a name. It's not to symbols. It's not to a bald eagle. It's not to the colors red, white, and blue. It's to principles. It's to ideals. And by God, we better figure out what the hell those ideals are before it's too late. And we better start being loyal to those ideas, or the German humanists and the Italian monarchists are going to re-enslave us. They are going to put their chains back on us. They've already got them around our necks. They just don't have the rivets through yet. They're holding the rivet in their hand. They got it glowing red hot. They got the hammer in the other. They're about to stick it through, and we're going to be done. And our sons and our grandsons will despise us, and our daughters and our granddaughters will be at the mercy of evil men. Men, I appreciate you. I love America, what was America, as much as any of you. But we can't be loyal to that name. We can't be loyal to those symbols. We have to be loyal to the ideas. Thank you, men.